So our upcoming test is December 12th, 11th, and 12th, depending on your even or odd day. And here are the solutions for your study guide in several parts. So in question number 1, we are supposed to identify the intercepts. Well, you have to remember that there are intercepts on the x-axis and intercepts on the y-axis. So the x-intercepts are 7, 0 and negative 7, 0. The y-intercepts are down here on the y-axis, and the y-intercept is 0, negative 7. Question number 2, same idea. Let's do the x-intercepts and the y-intercepts. The x-intercepts are negative 4, 0 and 4, 0. And again, the y-intercepts are on the y-axis. They are up and down. And those will be 0, negative 3 for the bottom one, and 0, 3 for the top one. So 4 intercepts for this one. So moving on to the next page. On page 2, question number 3 continues, and we still want to know the intercepts. So the x-intercept, that's going to be where it crosses the x-axis. That's the x-intercept. The x-intercept, you can see, is at 1, 0. The y-intercept, there's only one of those as well, and that's up here, and it is at 0, 7. Okay, question number 4. In question number 4, we're still looking for the x and y intercepts. The x-intercept, where it crosses the x-axis, is negative 2, 0. And the y-intercept is way up here, and that's at 0, 8. Okay, question number 5. Use the vertical line test to determine whether or not the graph is a graph in which y is a function of x. So what they're asking you to do in this case is to use the vertical line test. Do you have any vertical places where you can put your pencil across and it will cross 2 places of your function? So the answer to this question is yes, this is a function of y. Okay, so the next page. These pages are going quickly because of the graphs. So in question number 6, you can see that this is not a function because if we place our pencil across here, you can see that we have a crossing here and a crossing here. And so you can see that this is not a function. Or you could say y is not a function of x. Okay. For question number 7, you could place your pencil across this at any point, and you can see that it's only going to cross one time. So this is a function. Okay, for question number 8, again, we can put our pencil down here on any places, and again, you can see that this is a function. Remember back in the one that was not a function, when we drew our line, you could see that if it crossed twice, it was not a function. So that's not happening in 7 and 8. So on to question 4. On question, 9. On question 9, you can see that if I lay my pencil down here on the vertical line test, you can see that I have a crossing here and here. This means that I have 2 different outputs for the same input, and that makes this not a function. So y is not a function of x. Okay, in number 10, likewise, you can see that I can draw a straight line here. And you can see that, and I wanted to get a very straight line here, because if I put my straight line here and I draw it vertical, I am touching that line in a couple of places. So this also is not a function. So let's get this back now to our little lines. And you can see here that this is not a function. It touches here, here, and here. So this is not a function. Okay. Remember, even, odd, or neither. The test is you plug in negative x for x. And remember, if you get f at negative x is equal to the original function, it is even. If you get f at negative x is equal to exactly the opposite of the function, it is odd. And if you get neither, then it is neither. So it has to be exactly the same or exactly the opposite. And if one term is not one of those, then it would be neither. So if we plug in negative x for x squared, we would have 2 times negative x squared plus x negative x to the 4th. So this is going to be negative times negative is a positive, so this is going to be 2x squared. Negative times a negative times a negative times a negative times a negative is also positive, so this is going to be plus x to the 4th. And since this is exactly what I started with, this is an even function. Okay, in number 12. Going to plug in negative x, so it's negative x to the 3rd plus negative x squared plus 5. So this one becomes negative x cubed plus x squared plus 5. And this one turns out to be not exactly opposite. This one term is opposite, but the other two are the same. So since that's the case, this one is actually neither. And for number 13, negative x to the third minus 4 times negative x. So this is going to turn out to be negative x to the third, and this turns out to be plus 4x. So you can see that this is exactly the opposite, and this is exactly the opposite. Therefore, this one is odd. In number 14, we are asked to find the domain and the range. So the domain, remember, is what x is allowed to be. So the domain is 0 to infinity. Remember, the infinity is rounded. The 0 is included because of the dot. So the x values start at 0 and go to infinity. I'd like to probably see an arrow on that one just to be sure. But we'll take a look at the test and make sure. So if you're not positive on that when the test is in front of you, do ask. It is a squared off one because you can see that that's included, and infinity is always rounded. So number 15. Oops, we want to do the range also, don't we? So the range on this one starts at 3 and goes to infinity, and it would include 3. And so the domain and the range. Okay, this video is getting a little lengthy, so we are going to stop it here. Part 2 will be posted on the same page.